Welcome to another edition, Chicago edition. I'm here with my co-host Jay Rizzo from Rizzo Rants, and this will be our end of the year wrap up. Yep, so Jay Rizzo, we had some interesting things to talk about. We have the Bears and their playoff hopes. The Cardinals, or I should say the 49ers, did us a favor. Shout out to Kerry Kittles. He said he enjoyed helping the Bears be in control of their own destiny since he grew up a Bears fan. We have the Bulls. He was very hopeful and excited for them because of what we saw in the preseason. But ultimately, reality struck and they start off the season 0-3. Then we got some moves the Cubs made and some minor moves the White Sox made. So let's go ahead and start with the Chicago Bears. I'll let you start it off, Rizzo.
I don't know what to think about this, man. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, they put themselves into this playoff position now, and you got to play the Jaguars this past Sunday, and game kind of went exactly how I thought it was gonna go. Not that I'm saying it's still not good. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I remember the Bears offense or a Bears team just scoring 30 plus points for four straight games. So I think I heard on one of the broadcasts that we might have not done it since like the 60s, maybe. Some crazy amount of years since we've done this. So I'll say that Mitch looks great. He's made himself some money, if that's with us signing him to an extension or him going to another team. I'm happy for him. I hope the best for him. I never wanted him here, not gonna lie, but I have thought that he's been the best quarterback that's been here since he got drafted each year. So, running game, David Montgomery looks fantastic. All of a sudden, this is what Ryan Pace was hoping when they drafted him. Offensive line has gotten better as each week has went. Um, but it will be interesting the last week to see if they can beat the Packers to get in the playoffs because the Packers do have stuff to play for. They are probably not going to be benching players because if they lose, I guess the tiebreakers in some way would knock them out of the one seed if they lost, and Seattle and or New Orleans were to win. So they still have to play. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Bears can beat them because that's the last time they lost, and that was one of the worst games of the year for me, just to see the team come out with such lack of competitiveness against your biggest rival. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out and can they beat a playoff team to get in the playoffs.
Right, right. Are definitely going to play upset or spoilers. Bears still have a chance if the Cardinals lose because Murray did get injured, so who knows if he'll be ready for the last game of the season. The Rams need to win the game. If they don't win the game, they're out of the playoff, so it's a must-win for the Rams. Only issue with the Rams is I'm hearing Jared Goff will not be able to play due to a broken thumb or injured thumb or something along that line. But it's definitely a must win for the Rams. It's a divisional game, divisional rival. It's a must win for the Cardinals. So basically, whoever wins out of those teams are guaranteeing the playoffs. But if the Rams win, it doesn't matter if the Bears lose against the Packers. We're still in the playoffs. We get the seventh seed. But you don't want to bank on, especially having back to back weeks, bank on a team losing for you to make it to the playoffs. You should just go out there and win. And like I said in our last show, this will definitely be a redemption game for the Bears because they just embarrassed themselves entirely as an organization. I wouldn't say it was the worst game of the year. For to me, the worst game of the year was that Detroit Lions game where we gave them the game. You know what I'm saying? We gave Detroit Lions a win. I guess to mess up their draft stock. Only logical reason why we would do something like that. Um, but back to the game, Mitch Trubisky, his first half, he looked it rough or he looked out of sync. But once he got into rhythm, When he got into his zone or his groove, man, he looked unstoppable. And also one thing that I really 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 liked and what I saw from Mr. Trubisky was that he was able to score in the third quarter. He scored more third quarter points in that game than literally the entire season for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, that third quarter has been a rough one, man. It's been terrible. So to see them score some points, I know it was against Jacksonville, but still, just anything to get them over the hump. Because I don't know what's happening at halftime with the team, but they come out third quarter, every game just flat everywhere.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what happened. This is exactly what's happening. Is we don't have a coaching staff, and the other teams have a coaching staff, and they make adjustments, and their adjustment works. And by the time Matt Nagy figures out that they got their onto him, saying the third quarter is already over.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can keep saying that, but they win on Sunday and go into the playoffs. I don't think Matt Nagy or Ryan Pace are going anywhere.
Oh no, like I said last time, they're definitely not going anywhere. If they didn't get fired after the Detroit game, they're not going to get fired. The Bears are not going to eat those contracts. Ownership is not going to eat those. Pay them for the X amount of years they have left on their contract. That's not what they do. They'll just let it ride out. Um, they're saying they got to have at least one. Maybe if they have 1 year left instead of having like 2 or 3, because Pace and Nagy are both tied in, so they either got 2 or 3 years left on the contract. Maybe if there was 1 year left on the contract, they would have got fired. But now when it has at least 2 years, they won't do that.
I don't know, man. It's crazy to me because yeah, I would have fired him after that Detroit game. Like I said, that was a tipping point for me. That was a sixth loss in a row. That was a game you blew to a division rival, to a team you always beat. That would have been it for me. But I know the Bears like to say they don't do that. We don't fire people during the season. That's not a thing we do. So, but I don't care if they win on Sunday. I don't care if they go to the playoffs. I feel like the only way that this team is ever going to get better or be as good as it can be is if both of them are gone. And
right.
hell, you fired Lovie Smith when he was 10-6. Now they didn't make the playoffs. So if it's just not making the playoffs, then I don't know. I'm like half rooting for the Bears to get in. I'm half rooting for them to lose because I want to see these two guys gone.
Right. Right. So let's say they do make the playoffs, and let's say they make it to the Super Bowl. They're saying because, in all honesty, it's any given Sunday, any team could win. In all honesty, the Bears played every team in the playoffs this year, and we was able. So, like, we played the Saints, we lost to the Saints, but that game could have easily been won. We played the Packers. That's a divisional rival. Anything can happen. Divisional game, and then Tampa Bay. We beat Tampa Bay this year. Did we play the Seahawks this year?
I can't remember. I want to say yes if we played the Rams, right?
No, we didn't play. No, we didn't play the Seahawks. The Rams was one of our outside of schedule games because we played the NFC South.
Okay. Then no, we didn't play the Seahawks, but we have always struggled against Russ.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, that's the only one. But like, so if we start off, let's say, depending how the seeding goes, so let's say the Packers get the number one.
So then they get a bye, right? And then it's the
Yeah,
6 other teams that play each other. So the 7th seed would play the 2 seed,
right. So we'll play against
either
the
Seattle
Saints.
or Saints.
Right. So we want to go against the Saints. We don't want to go against Seattle.
I'd want to go against the Saints if it was here. I don't know if I want to play them in the Superdome.
No, like so. Yeah, no. I'd rather play the Saints in the Superdome for the simple fact 2 players I know will definitely have a way better game in the Superdome than they will have in Soldier Field, and that's Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn. They'll
Oh, we're
definitely
bringing
be
up
able.
Robert Quinn.
Yeah, they'll definitely be able to put up. Robert Quinn is only good. You can look at his career numbers. He's only good or only effective when he plays on turf.
So
If he
that's why
play,
they paid him all the money. They were hoping that they had a playoff game and it was going to be indoors.
hey, hey, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I don't know why they do it. It makes no sense, but it is what it is. But Khalil Mack will definitely kill on turf. Um, and I know one thing for sure: that Bears wide receiving core will definitely burn that same secondary. And then we got Mitch Trubisky at quarterback, so he'll be able to move around in the pocket, extend plays, and there's going to be a wide receiver open. You said hopefully he can find them.
Hopefully they can catch the ball if they're not Allen Robinson.
Right. Well, Mooney's been pretty good. I give you. You could definitely say that about Miller.
Same about the rookie too, Cole Kmet. Even though he looked a lot better second half of the season, but you get Jimmy Graham, revenge game, maybe. I don't know. It's just like one of those things. Like I see the Bears making the if they do make the playoffs, I don't really like their chances. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say that they'll get blown out or they won't be competitive in the game. But I mean, if they do somehow sneak into the playoffs but then they lose immediately, I mean, what does that make you feel about that? Put Matt Nagy's playoff career at 0-2. He's declined each season since the 14 win or since the 12-win season. Um, so I don't know. Just me personally, in that 6-game losing streak, like I saw enough that I needed to see that it's not like all of a sudden this last little gap that you've had to get in the playoffs that is going to change my mind. I give it more to the players than anything else. But Pace and Nagy, I'm not going to give them any credit. I mean, one thing, Nagy gave away his play calling, so I don't want to hear him taking credit for anything, really.
Right. Right. So yeah. So basically, you saying it should be a promotion within.
I don't know if it should be a promotion within. I told you, I don't really have a guess on who should be coming in. I mean, a lot of people have been talking about Urban Meyer as a hot commodity. I've always liked Urban Meyer as a coach. He's a piece of garbage person, but as a football coach, he's fantastic. So I would definitely take Urban Meyer over Nagy. I would try that, you know.
What do
But
you what about the guy from is it Texas? I don't know, one of those South schools. Lincoln. Is he from Oklahoma or is he from Texas?
oh, Lincoln Riley, yeah, from
Yeah.
Oklahoma, yeah, he's really good too. I would almost like to get him if I could have got one of his Oklahoma quarterbacks because he got a little bit. You don't have to learn as much, but yeah, I do think that he would be a good choice. I would take him over Nagy. I mean, I don't know. I saw an article this week about somebody. I don't know what beat reporter or what reporter was in Chicago, but they were talking about how they think that now is not the time to get rid of Nagy. Actually, we haven't seen the best of him yet. I just don't buy it, man. Yes, we got this little run here at the end, but man, that 6-game losing streak, those games were bad.
Right.
I would pretty much take anybody right now. 6-game losing streak this year, decline from previous season after having a 12-win outing is enough for me to know that I just don't think this is going to be the guy. And then his press conferences are just they kill me, man. He never he never seems like he takes the blame for anything. It's always shifting to somebody else, or which I hate. Like, just own it up. If you sucked, you sucked. Like I liked what like J.J. Watt talked about. Like, man, if we're playing like garbage, then we deserve to be booed. Or who was it? It was Ben Roethlisberger after the 3-game losing streak with Pittsburgh. He's like, yeah, if I'm playing like poo. I stink right now. I agree with what everybody's saying. Like own up when you suck. Don't try to shift it and then give away play calling and all that kind of stuff. Like just own up to it.
Right. That being said, does Mitch Trubisky has he done enough to earn an extension, or if not earn an extension, is there a quarterback in this market that the Bears can get that's better than Mitch Trubisky?
I mean, there's plenty of guys talent-wise that are better than Mitch, but again, if we're just talking about if it's gonna be Pace and it's gonna be Nagy again, and you're probably gonna keep the same staff and nobody's getting moved or anything like that, then yeah, it might make sense to keep Mitch the way he's looked and he leads you into the playoffs. I don't know if there's another quarterback on free agency that's going to be able to come in and just step in and be a leader of this team like Mitch has been for these last 4 or 5 weeks. So, I mean, Carson Wentz might become available. I know it's going to be a name that's going to be thrown around at almost every team that's looking for a quarterback. But no, I'd probably do Mitch just because of the familiarity that's going to be here. And he knows the locker room. Now they need to sign Allen Robinson back. You don't get Allen Robinson back, it's not going to matter that whole much because Anthony Miller is not ready to step up. Neither is Mooney ready to step up as a just go-to number one guy. They have to keep Allen Robinson. And their record's not going to be bad enough where there's like a quarterback that's coming out in the draft that makes sense to me. If they were in that top 10 spot, there's plenty of quarterbacks this year that I actually like, but they would have had to do a lot worse.
Right. So I'll throw out some names. You see either Mitch or whoever I'll throw out. Dwayne Haskett.
Mitch.
Dak Prescott.
I'd take Dak, but Dak's not going anywhere.
You'll say he might.
No, he's not going anywhere for the money that the Bears want to spend on anything that has to do with a quarterback. So, no, we're not going to get him. But yeah, if Dak's out, are you kidding me? Dak to me is a top 3 quarterback.
All right. Matt Ryan.
That's an interesting one. If I thought we were on like the cusp of making like a Super Bowl run, and Matt Ryan like comes into a team that's already ready and he just needs to get added to like make it go, kind of like Tom Brady on the Bucks. But we don't have that set up. We don't have a Mike Evans, a Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, and a Gronkowski, and then a great offensive mind and like Bruce Arians where you can just come in and do that. So no, I wouldn't take Matt Ryan over Mitch. I would take Mitch.
Matt Stafford.
I take Stafford. I take Stafford over a lot of people. That dude's arm is nuts. But again, it's very hard for me to say. It's a totally different system than what he's been playing. So it's hard for me to say what would work. I mean, I think Matthew Stafford, just arm-wise as a quarterback, he's a stud.
Right. Carl Wentz.
No. Not that I don't think he's better. I think talent-wise, Wentz is better. But also, I don't know what's going on in that dude's head. Since the injury has not looked the same. So I'd let another team take a chance on him. And they might get that rekindled where he has that MVP look again, but I wouldn't take that chance.
Right. Tyrod Taylor.
I love Tyrod. I think he'd be good to come in as a backup and get rid of as much. I like Nick Foles as a backup. I don't think he wants to stay. You can get Tyrod Taylor a lot cheaper.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Fitzmagic, same way as I feel about Matt Ryan. Like if you're a team on the cusp of winning, I think he's a good guy to be on a team that like is gonna win and needs a veteran QB. But I mean, he's also he's getting up there in age too.
Right. We have. Wait, I know. Sam Darnold.
No. I don't know what happened because I like Darnold, but I don't know what happened with him and Gase. I don't know what damage has been done there.
All right. And then the last one is the man, the myth, the legend, Minshew.
No. I like Gardner Minshew's story and all that. And he seems like an awesome dude, but no.
All right. So, yeah, so basically, man, that's Mitch got over 500 on QBs that may or may not be available.
Well, like I said, I mean, if we don't pay him, somebody else is going to pay him for what he's done this year. What is his record? I think he's 6-2. Pretty good stats. He might lead a team in a play might go 7-2 actually if he wins on Sunday. And lead a team into a playoffs after a 6-game losing streak and all that. Yeah.
Yep. And on top of that, those two losses, you could definitely blame. You could definitely say it wasn't his fault, which is crazy to think.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of them was a Green Bay game, and it was just it started from the head down. It started with coaching, and then the defense gave up. The defense was giving up points like it was preseason. It was working on new blitzes or something.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Detroit game, that was just a disaster.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but people will point out that it was that fumble that he had, but yeah, he really could be 8-0 at this point for this year.
Yep. Moving along, the Chicago Bulls are 0-3. The one thing we said about the Bulls was that they didn't play no defense, that it will take some time for them to figure out or learn their defense under Donovan. And our last game was against Golden State Warriors, where they scored 129 points. You know what I'm saying? Granted, the Bulls scored 128, but at the end of the day, like we said, like the Bulls will be able to put up points, but the other team will put up more.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you were higher on the Bulls than me when we talked before the season started because you had them making the playoffs. I had them still as like 12th out of 15th in the East. So, and this is kind of the reason I thought just no defense. You can't have zero defense, and it's just some games, especially the first two. So, first game, my God, just zero effort even. I'll give it that the Hawks added a lot of stuff, and to me, they are a top 5 seed in the East right now. They're undefeated. They won again tonight. And they have a lot of firepower. They have a lot of offensive weapons, but just the effort that I saw that first game, I was just like, wow. Now, second game, you did see a lot better in that first half against a division rival in Indiana, and they looked a little bit better in the first half, but then second half, by third quarter here, we're down by 20, and they already had 100. So it was the same thing happening, and even in those first two games, Zach LaVine actually looked pretty bad offensively. He had a nice game yesterday, and he hit what could have been a game winner. And even on the buzzer beater that the Warriors did on us, I actually thought that was solid defense. There was nothing you could really do. But the guy who made the shot is a guy like I would have never even thought was taking a shot in Jordan Lee. So that was kind of crazy because everybody knew it was going to go to Curry. But that was what was killing me about that game yesterday, too. Like, we finally got the offense was going. You had 4 starters score 20-plus points. But every time you would gain a little lead, I remember at one point, I think the biggest lead I saw him get was like 12. In a matter of a minute or two, it was down 5 because they weren't stopping anybody either. So, yeah, this is going to be a long year. Again. Right. And that's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, there are things that I've liked in the 3 games. I like that Laurie looks like he's got his swagger back. He's got his confidence back. He looks like his rookie self and second-year guy. So I'm happy to see that. So at the same time, I mean, and then Kobe White, he looks pretty good. But he's been inconsistent. The point guard play is what's killing me, man. You got nobody that knows what they're doing, nobody that can control the offense, that can set a tempo, that can get us all set up. So none of that is happening, which yesterday had us have 24 turnovers against the Warriors, who haven't been playing that great either. But again, the lack of the point guards. We don't really have one. I like Kobe, I like Zach LaVine, but neither of them are guys that can distribute, that can run an offense. And that's really hurting the Bulls, too, because you don't really have anybody coming off the bench. Sadarinsky just came back. The Arcidiano guy, man, I can't stand either of those two guys. Then those are your 2 that you're playing off the bench at point. And it just doesn't help. Wendell Carter finally looked all right yesterday. But he's also a guy, to me, that doesn't look like he knows what he wants to be. He doesn't look
Right.
like he knows if he wants to be in the post and just a defender, or if he wants to sit outside and shoot threes, which you kind of got to figure out what you want to do. Yesterday, when he was going to the post and playing like an actual big man, is when he looked his best. And I don't understand why people haven't told him that from the get. I was wondering the same thing with Boylan, but again, it was Boylan. That dude can't coach anybody, so I thought that was the problem. But now it's like, okay, you got Donovan. He's a solid coach. He's coached a lot of good big guys, but I don't know what's going on with him either.
Right. Yeah. Donovan is he's taking the approach of seeing what the players want to do, and he's working off of that, and then putting them in that position to succeed. So maybe Wendell Carter wants to be a Karl Anthony Towns or a Joel Embiid, where he could post up and shoot from three, but he don't have the tools as of yet, or he'll probably never have the tools to be shooting for three. To be honest with you.
Right, and it's like you see him yesterday when he wanted to play big. He looked pretty solid for one game this season. Other games, not so much. Those first two games when he tried to be a big guy, the other big dudes like Domantas Sabonis just killed him, and John Collins on the Hawks. But yesterday, he looked pretty good when he wanted to. So it's like you gotta figure that out. You really got to figure out this point guard thing, though. It's gonna kill us too. I don't think it's gonna help. Defense is the biggest thing. If
Right.
we can't defend anybody, I don't know. We might be even worse than 12th in the East.
Right. Yeah, my thing, Wendell Carter, he reminds me a lot of Horace Grant. You know, Horace Grant came out of college. He was known to be a scorer and all this. But when he came to the Bulls and said, like, look here, this is what you're going to do. You're going to play power forward, you're going to play defense, and you're going to get rebounds. Now, if Wendell Carter focuses all his energy and just work on that, getting rebounds, playing defense, I think he'll be great or even good or even great at power forward, not at center.
Well, the tough thing for him, though, and the thing that they don't have that Horace had, well, one, they don't have Mike. And Mike would probably tell Horace all the time, what are you doing? So they don't have that guy that's on the team right now that's questioning anybody. They don't have a leader just yet. You know, Zach LaVine's the best player, but he's not a leader. It kind of reminds me of like Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Kevin Durant was the best player, but he really wasn't that vocal leader that would get in on somebody. You know, he's starting to do it a little bit more now, but still, you got to have that sometimes. And who do the Bulls have right now that's out there? One, it's a super young team, and then two, nobody has established that.
Right. Well, the coaching staff, the coach, like, so last time the Bulls had a young team, no leaders, Tom Thibodeau was the coach, and he established that early.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, he laid the groundwork. And then the people that bought into the system the most, you know, were those vocal leaders behind the scenes, which was Luol Deng and Gibson. You know, they kept everybody in check, you know, and everybody knew Derrick Rose was the best player. And then you had other guys.
Right, you had Joe, too. Don't forget Joe.
Yeah. Yep. And Joe put people in their place. Like, he put the Jimmy Butlers and, you know what I'm saying, in their place when their head got too big. But then that just all messed up prematurely due to management, which is that person is still on payroll, so it might still be the same management.
I mean, this is like kind of what I thought this team was going to be, especially to start. You know, one, you had to get rid of a guy who had been coaching this team for the last year and a half that, hell, man, like I said, shouldn't even be a rec league coach. So they had to get rid of all this bad shit that they learned from this guy. And I knew it was going to take a while for it to, like, for Donovan stuff to start getting in, because, I mean, they've had the same coach forever. It's all in their head from what he taught them or whatever the hell he learned out of whatever coaching book he was using. I don't know, probably a coloring book. Who knows? I don't know. But Jim Boylan, you got to get all that washed away, and I knew that was going to take some time. But yeah, it's frustrating to see as a Bulls fan. Like we're giving up like 80 points a half, you know, and it's like, wow, this game, the Hawks game was over. Pacers game and the Warriors game the Pacers game at least was close for a half, and then they got destroyed. But at least the Warriors game stayed close the whole time. So all I'm hoping right now is I want to see some more competitiveness. Let's see some closer games. I want to see more effort on the defensive end. Kobe White, if you really do want to be a point guard, then you need to start playing like a point guard because Zach
Oh,
LaVine is not going to be a point guard.
Kobe White's not a point guard. I don't even know why he's starting at point guard.
Hey, I 100% agree with you. I think our best lineup, if we could have kept and signed him, would have been Chris Dunn starting and Kobe White coming off the bench. Because Kobe White off the bench would have been nice. He would have been like Jamal Crawford. He would have been six-man contender already, in my opinion, if you had him coming off the bench.
Right.
But you don't have a point guard right now. You're not going to start Sadarinsky. You're not going to start Arsticiano. You're not going to start Garrett Temple. You're not going to start Dotson, who I don't even know if he's on active roster, but those are your other four choices. You're not going to start any of those guys either. So you're kind of stuck right now until maybe if you make a move, if you get rid of Otto Porter if he starts playing better, or some of these other ones, if somebody likes Wendell Carter and you ship them for a point guard, I think that'll be the biggest thing. It might even mean you got to ship Zach LaVine, though, too. If Zach LaVine start coming on and having some hot games, let's say our record is like 5-20.
Right.
If you got to get rid of Zach LaVine to get a solid point guard or a solid draft pick that you can use towards a point guard in this upcoming draft, that's what you need right now. You cannot have a bad point guard. We don't even have a point forward. Like, okay, so you can say like some other teams, maybe like the Lakers, they don't have a great point guard, but they got LeBron. Right. Guy's pretty much point guard. You got to have somebody that can. You can go to the Nuggets, and I love Jamal Murray, but really their best point guard is Jokic, who's a center. You have to have somebody that can set up the offense, and right now we don't have. We have a lot of scores. We got a lot of guys that can score the ball, but who's going to get them the ball?
Right. That's why we should have traded for LaMelo Ball. But
shit, man. All they had to do was re-sign Chris Dunn. One thing, too, that would have been, you would at least had one guy who was committed to defense, and he was playing defense with the shit Boylan was teaching. So you had one guy at least that you could come in and he was going to lock down some people. Right now, you don't have any defenders. I can't name one on our lineup.
Yeah. The whole NBA been in shambles. I think that whole bubble tournament experiment, whatever it was, ruined multiple seasons because we got the Knicks blowing out the Bucks. Who was it? Cleveland whooped the 76ers.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some weird ones. The Clippers one, they were sitting guys. Kawhi there was a back-to-back. They were sitting Kawhi. It's early in the season, so I mean, this stuff's happened before.
50 points.
50 points. It was a record. I'll say that. Like they played as bad as you could play. Like that was a record for that team to lose by that much. So That's nuts. But like the blow up by the Bucks, they got new players and all that, so they're trying to gel with these new players. I mean, Giannis and Chris Middleton are still putting up numbers, but they got to get back into a flow of things too. It's just early in the season, you do see this. And the 76ers, they were on the road. I know there's no fans, but since they've had Embiid and Simmons, this team can't win on the road.
Right.
But there's some weird. Though. I know it is Cleveland. I agree with you, but I mean, it's beginning of the year too. There are going to be weird things like this happening for a little bit. It usually evens themselves out, but we'll see what happens. The Bulls, on the other hand, I don't know. Until they start playing some defense, we might see some closer games, but they're going to be, like you said, in the 120s, 110s, and we're going to have to hope that we can outscore somebody. Until they start doing some complete effort on defense and get out of this just worrying about offense mode, we're probably going to be a pretty bad team.
Yep. Moving along, the Cubs made a move. Some will say it was a big move. I would say it was definitely a salary dump. We're not planning for the future. We're not planning to get better. We're just planning to be out of luxury tax. For obvious reasons. Probably because all their previous investments, like buying a movie theater and COVID happened, is costing them money now, so they need to dump money. They traded I'm just rambling now. They traded Yu Darvish to the San Diego Padres for Zach Davey, um, a shortstop. None of these prospects are in the top 10 in the Padres system, let alone in MLB. Not one. And Yu Darvish is an ace. He's a true number one, which is there's not very many of those in Major League Baseball. You got a lot of number twos, a lot of threes, but he's a true number one who finally got his form back last year, who finally looked like the Yu Darvish you gave all this money to. And as soon as he gets good, they gave him away for pennies on a dollar. So we got a shortstop, Prasado. We got an outfield named Owen Casey, I want to say his name is. Another outfield, Mena. And then we got another shortstop, Santana. And yeah, we'd be lucky if any of them would become an everyday starter at best.
I mean, yeah, all those guys you named, the one guy that will be starting for you for the season and will be on the rotation is Zach Davies. As much as we don't like him, he will be a guy that'll be on a rotation spot. He has been a starter. He's not terrible, but for a Cy Young contender to get that, no, I was shocked. We talked about it on the last show that I said that the Padres would be a good team to go after because they have a lot of good prospects and they're trying to make it to the World Series, and they gotta get over the Dodgers who have won that division for like 10 straight seasons. So they needed to make some moves, and they did Blake Snell earlier in the day, which actually the Rays got way better prospect than the Cubs got for that one. And I like Blake Snell a lot, but I would take Darvish right now over Snell. Snell's younger, but Darvish is pitching better. Not that Snell's not. He has proven that he should have won. They should have won the World Series if they would have kept Blake Snell in. So I kind of understand why he had to leave. But what we're talking about here is the Darvish thing. And yeah, when I saw it was going through, I had first somebody had posted it on one of the White Sox groups I follow on Facebook. I thought it was total bullshit because it was like from some guy that I'd never heard of. It wasn't like a good source. It wasn't like a ESPN guy. It wasn't Ken Rosenthal or anything like that. So when I saw it, I was like, okay. And then when I saw it pop up, I was like, oh, man, that's the thing they had up. And it was like, dude, who are these guys? They didn't get any of their top 10 prospects at all. Hell, I would even said instead of Davies, I would ask for Paddock at least. At least he's a young pitcher that they could part with because, I mean, that staff's going to be loaded now. It's just ridiculous.
Right.
And Cleffinger is not even going to be there to start because he got hurt, but they have 6, just horses there now. But, yeah, this boggles my mind for the Cubs to do this because, yeah, it totally seems like a salary dump. It doesn't seem like they even tried to get anything that great from the Padres, and it just kind of blows my mind because it's like we traded you guys Quintana and we still got Eloy and Cease, which were both top 10 prospects for you guys when we traded Quintana.
Number one. Jimenez was number one.
Right.
And shoot, Jimenez was, I want to say, minimum top 5 in MLB.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just kind of shocking to see this little bit for a guy who finished in the top 3 of the Cy Young, and even the year before that, he was in the Cy Young voting as well.
Yeah. This is it's definitely a salary dump. Moving along, the White Sox made some. It might be they got themselves a hidden gem. They did some international signing.
Yeah, man, we got the little Cespedes. We got
That's right.
Cespedes' little brother, man, Yoelki, and I'm happy as hell. Number 1 international prospect again coming to the Sox. And you know who the last guy was that we got that was number 1 there was Robert. And before that, we had gotten Abreu. He wasn't as high because he was a little bit older, but man, he's been one of the best international pickups we've ever had. If there's anything we've been doing really well right now, international pickups have been great for us. And to get Cespedes, who's already like 23, he might actually move up really fast in the minors. He might be up with the team this year. especially if our outfielder, if our right field position isn't doing that well with the platoon of right now, it'd probably be Adam Eaton and say Adam Engel or something like that. So if that platoon is not doing that well, this might be a guy that can come up right away. He can start there or he can DH. So it is a really good signing for us. And it looks like just signing him, which is another Cuban guy. Now we got this huge Cuban people here. We got 4 of them, and it sounds like we're going to be going after Colas now too, because he's going up on the market right after January. I think he's going to start talking to teams. But all I'm seeing up on Instagram is Luis Robert posting stuff about him, and then Colas is retweeting it and resharing it. So it looks like we might have the next best international prospect for the next season as well coming here. So
Right.
the White Sox haven't stopped. They're still getting young talent to go with what we've got going right now. Like, I'm happy as hell. I'm not going to lie. And I don't even know if they've stopped doing what they're still going to do with just players on the market. We still got to see what's going to go on with Colomé. We're going to sign him back. If not, I've been hearing that they're still interested in one of the teams that's very high up on Liam Hendricks. I'm not going to lie.
That'll be a great pickup.
I would take Hendricks over Colomé. I love Colomé, but I would take Hendricks in a heartbeat. One, he's younger, and that dude is a beast. Like, we saw it in the postseason against us. He's really good. He's probably top 3 reliever in my opinion. So if you can get him, that's amazing. And then they still are looking at some other outfielders, some DH choices. The White Sox aren't done yet either, you know. And I'm excited. I mean, I know you today finally got some news. I mean, at least you can look at it like this: the Cubs are going to rebuild. So maybe the next move for them is maybe now
they're not rebuilding. This is not a rebuild. This is they're salary dumping.
This one for sure was a salary dump. But if you're willing to trade Darvish, now it's going to come down to is it now going to be a Bryant kind of thing? Is he the next one up that you move now? Hopefully you're smart and you get something for him. I still think the Phillies might be a good idea to do because I think he would go there because his buddy plays there, Bryce. And if they're smart, take their young third baseman and take one of their young prospect pitchers because they have some good ones. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to do that. I'm just saying that they could. Hey, the last time I said that was about the Padres, and they did it. I'm just shocked at what they got.
Yeah, this is what I see them doing next. Maybe the White Sox will benefit from this, but next person to go for milk and cookies or a bag of chips or maybe even a package of masks. You know what I'm saying? Will be Jason Haywood. You know what I'm saying? Which will be great for a young team like the Sox. He won a World Series. He was one of the driving forces, leadership as a glue guy. I know you don't like glue guys, but when your team is, a contender,
you're on that cusp.
Yeah, you'll say, and you'll get them for cheap. All you gotta do is pay a salary. That's it. Because you could just say we give you a player to be named later, and just never send a player at this point where they're operating. And another person that any team should look at is Kyle Hendricks. Since the Cubs are having a fire sale, is Kyle Hendricks is a proven pitcher in the playoffs. Like even he was the only one when Lester messed up and Darvish messed up. He was the only one that been consistent and been, you know what I'm saying, killing for us in the playoffs, even when the Cubs been blowing it.
Yeah, like I said, it'll be very interesting to see what you guys do after this. If there is any, there's gonna be a lot of fallout. Don't get me wrong. If any Cubs fan is like happy with it, don't be happy. That's not a good move. I agree with you. It looked like a straight salary dump. You had a chance to get some good prospects from a team that had a lot of good talent. They have one of the best farm systems in the league. You could have started retooling, going for that rebuild kind of mode. But yeah, I don't know. It's very strange because I don't know how they're going to try to say that they're broke. I understand that they did all the things that they did to Wrigley. It's still the Cubs. They still make just oodles of money. The Ricketts
Right.
to act the Ricketts to act the way that they're doing right now to me is what is killing the Cubs more than anything. And maybe that is why Theo decided to leave. Maybe they were going to do something like this and they were going to start salary dumping and getting rid of players and not getting what they deserve back. And maybe Theo didn't want to stick around for that.
Right. Right. So that means if Jed stick around for that, he's unable to. Oh man, another Chicago owner, microman. It's bad. It's bad. I'm done. I'm done. They're on the list. They're on the shelf with the Bulls. The Cubs are on the shelf, and the Bears. The Bears. I'm like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. With that being said, do you have any closing remarks?
Well, I mean, I guess if this is our end of the year show or if we have one before, regardless, I'll just been a crazy year for sure for everybody. Probably nobody's ever lived through something like this. But I was gonna start thinking about like the good things that happened this past year and just talk about maybe like one of my favorite moments of the year from Chicago sporting aspect. And I would have to say was that first game in Wrigley for the Sox this year. And when we just blasted all them home runs that first night, and man, it was just great to see finally because it was just like you could see it was the turning of the tide. Like the Sox are taking over, and now it's their time to be good. And Cubs, even though they still did pretty good this year and they won the division and all that, you could just see that the Sox are going to be the talk of the baseball world, especially in Chicago, for at least the next like 5 to 7 years, I would say.
Right, right. And I don't want to say I'm a psycher or nothing, but I definitely predicted 2020 will be the shift between the Cubs and the Sox. What I didn't expect the Cubs to just win that one championship and just suck ever since then.
You kind
Uh,
of said that a little bit.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
you kind of jinxed it a little bit. I mean, you kind of started saying it maybe after the first couple of years afterwards because you're just like, man, it's like 85 Bears all over again.
yeah, yeah. They got too Hollywood. But yeah, perspective. A lot of people said 2020 was the worst year ever. A lot of people said just they can't get rid. They just can't wait to be done with it. In all honesty, for me, 2020 been great for myself and my family. I was able to spend a lot of time with my kids, which if it was a normal year, I would have been on the road working, and that wasn't the case. I've been able to pay all my bills, which that's not the case for many people. You know what I'm saying? I was be able I was able to get engaged. So that's a new thing. That's a good thing.
That's a pretty good
Uh
thing.
yeah. Yeah. Now I gotta plan and prepare for a wedding, which I have no idea about. So definitely gonna be calling a lot of people for tips and advice.
Say
Um
yes.
yeah, but yeah, overall it's just been a great year. Like nobody in my immediate family got severely sick. I knew people that got COVID, you know what I'm saying, that got sick, but nothing major or life threatening. Um Nobody I knew in my immediate circle were affected financially by COVID, were like losing jobs. I mean, a lot of people lost jobs, but they were still able to pay bills due to stimulus, unemployment, stuff like that. But nobody lost their house or apartment or anything like that. They'll still be able to function. So I guess it's all on perspective, how you look at things. 2020 haven't been as bad as they said it was. So
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. 2021 is definitely going to be an interesting year for sure.
yeah, I think honestly, 2021 is a year I think it's going to be bad, and everybody's worrying about 2020. But another note too, a lot of people. Trump is not in or Trump will not be in office anymore. I know he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. He definitely needed to shut up and not be on Twitter.
Well,
Other than that, I think other than that, he ran or his administration ran the country way better than I thought there was going to do. So,
Well, you probably had a super low bar though.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But like, we didn't go to war. We didn't go bankrupt. So
Yeah,
say,
yeah. I guess. I guess.
say. So on that, we're out.